Okay, everyone, we will be learning a beautiful piece of Musar and Alshech on Parashat Ekev about the qualities of the Jewish people that we've inherited from our forefathers. And Rav Moshe goes into what is the essence of a Jew, what makes a Jew stand out and be different to the rest of society. V'hinei b'midrash Rabbah says, Mahu et habrit v'et hachesed. The pasuk says in this week's parasha, Hashem will guard the brit and the chesed that he promised to the avot. So the midrash is saying, what was it referring to? At least what kind of midrash can we learn from this pasuk? Amar Rabbi Chia shalosh midot tavot yesh b'yad Israel. The Jewish people have three good character traits. Ve'eluhen baishanim, they're bashful, shameful. Rachmanim, they're merciful. Gomlei chasadim, they act with kindness.
What's the difference between merciful and acts of kindness?
I mean, obviously one is action and one is feeling. But I think it's also, probably you would say mercy is I don't know, trying to think of the words for it.
It's a way of looking at the world, looking at versus doing. I mean, otherwise I would have just said chesed, Jews are kind. But it didn't say Jews
Gomlei
are kind.
chasadim.
So Jews do.
I mean, it's a general question. We know we have chesed and we have rachamim. Right? There's two different types of things. What is the difference between chesed and rachamim? So generally speaking, chesed means to give with no limits. Just chesed, right? And rachamim, as we know, is the balance between chesed and discernment. Right. So it's discernment, which means a certain type of awareness of the reality and kind of feeling the compassion. Right. Interesting.
How we raise our children, maybe? We don't want to just keep giving them. We give them love.
Right.
But rachamim might mean that sometimes we withhold from them for their better good.
Right. Or we mean giving in a way of deserving somewhat, or from a place of where taking into account certain, interesting. I don't know. So what psukim does the midrash bring? The midrash brings psukim to prove that the Jewish people have these qualities. So first of all, it brings baishanim minayin shene'emar ba'avur tiyeh yirato al penechem. When Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe, he said, "I'm giving you the Torah, so you should have my fear, the fear of me on your faces." We'll get into that in a minute. What that means? Rachmanim minayin. I know the Jews are merciful. Shneva v'netan lecha rachamim v'richamcha. Hashem will give you mercy, and He will have mercy on you. Gomlei chasadim minayin. And here we get to the pasuk in this week's parasha, and that we just saw, which is Shamar Hashem lakecha et habrit v'et hachesed. Hashem will observe His promise and His covenant and His kindness. So this is a very interesting midrash, which doesn't make sense from beginning to end, as Rav Moshe will point out. V'ra'ui lasim lev. Number one, we need to pay attention to Mahuk shalosh Omar mamar habrit v'chesed. The midrash obviously is not saying the simple translation of what the pasuk means. And usually when the midrash has something else to offer as an explanation, it means that there was something that didn't make sense. So why can't we just say the simple translation? He will guard His covenant and His chesed. Number two is the question of the midrash. Shlosh midot tavot lama nitiachdu elu Yisrael mizratan. Why specifically these three midot are the Jewish people's midot? Why don't we have other midot? Like stubbornness and, I don't know, other types of midot that you could come up with that could be, humility maybe. These three midot, for some reason, are the Jews' midot. And that's been so much so that we know that if you see someone, it might, relatively humble person might be a Baishan, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily saying it. I was just trying to think of other midot. So much so that it says that if you see a Jew that is arrogant or he's not unkind, you should check his lineage, because this is really the definition of what a Jew is. What's specific about these three things? Number 3, ki הרעיה שמביא מבעבות תהיה יראתו, אין נראה שהוא מידת הביישנות. The pasuk doesn't talk about bashfulness. It talks about yirat shamayim. Hashem is giving us the Torah that you should have yirat shamayim. Nothing to do with busha.
Right.
Number 4, הרעיה שמביא הרחמנים. It's a very difficult one. כי אינו אומר שם כי אם שהשם ירחמנו. It says that Hashem will give us mercy. Like he'll be giving us the mercy, not that we'll be having the mercy. And number 5, again, there it's talking about Hashem is going to have the brit and the chesed with us, not that we are the ones with the chesed. I'll tell you one thing, says Ramosha. Why are these 3 midot specifically ingrained in the Jewish people? These 3 midot we inherited from the 3 forefathers. Gemilut chasadim michesed laAvraham. Baishanim miYitzchak, כמו שאמרו שמאי לאביו ליצחק ושחטו מיד כי קלקל השחיטה. Yitzchak had a specific bashfulness from Hashem. He didn't want to cause any problems. So it's kind of we're going back to connecting fear and bashfulness from the same idea, that he didn't want to come through as failing Hashem. When Avram told him, when they were going up the mountain, and he asked Avram, where are we going? Who's going to be slaughtered here? And Avram said, you're going to be slaughtered. So he didn't even respond to that. He didn't say, what? I mean, you're going to kill me? What's going on? He acted in respect and bashfulness, and he didn't make a fuss. Midat harachamim Yaakov. Where do we see Yaakov had rachamim? So where do we see that he's having mercy? That he didn't want to, even though he wanted to go with Esav apparently, he didn't do that because he was caring about the flock and the kids. Again,
reading the other way around, but he didn't really want to go with
that's what the rabbis say.
As an excuse.
Yeah, that's what the rabbis say. But at least on the Pshat level, that was his actual. Maybe again, if he wouldn't have been a merciful person, Esav wouldn't have bought it as an excuse. So he's like, hey, you know me, I care too much. I can't do it. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Here we have a question though, that if it's talking about the order of the patriarchs, first is Avram, which is Yitzchak. He brings them in the order of the psukim, and as Shmuel was saying before, that by Shanim we bring the pasuk in Shemot, which is number 1. Rachmanim is a pasuk in this week's parasha. Gamlech Hasidim is a pasuk in this week's parasha as well. So that's why it seems to be the order of the Torah.
But I was saying before, surely this is not the only source of Gemara Chassidim for the Jewish people. Right after this pasuk, the Gemara Chassidim must be other references to Gemara Chassidim, no?
Specifically because these psukim are very difficult to begin with. But it seems to be that we want to choose these psukim. Let's see if he answers this. I don't think he answers this. Like he doesn't. I don't think he explains specifically. No, it doesn't say. Okay, so let's finish off here. So now we're going to explain the Midrash. Why does it say et twice? What's the et? Usually et means to mentioning something else between the lines. When it comes to the word et, when it comes to Brit, there's another covenant. The tribes.
Which period?
Hashem made a prophet. Hashem tells the prophet that he made a covenant with the tribes as well.
You know what he's referring to?
He brings it down the bottom in Chavakuk. It says, "Shvuot matot omer sela." So the Midrash explains that he made a brut krutal shvatim. Right, so it's referring to the next generation's covenant with Hashem. So that's the et, to include something that's not mentioned explicitly. What is the et when it comes to the chesed? Al ken ba ma'amar b'chiyah b'shlosha midot shebiyad Israel v'hu ki b'shanim lamad al pneichem ki ech titzdak mora lepanim lo derech zeh. When it says, Hashem says, I want you to have fear of me on your face. What does it mean, fear on the face? Fear is an emotion. When fear is expressed on the face, that expresses itself in bashfulness. Right? So that's when the emotion is expressed outwardly, it's expressed on the face. So that's where we see that in this pasuk is referring to the busha, the baishanim of the Jewish people. V'od shenit, another part of the pasuk that tells me we're talking about bashfulness. Lebilti techta'u. V'unyan ma'maram ba'amram ki amar Yisrael tzanenu not makenu. Amar b'tening nodim tinako masher sha'el. So the Jewish people asked to see Hashem, even though originally Hashem told the Jews that Moshe is going to speak to you. So they said, no, we want to speak. We want to see Hashem ourselves. And the Midrash says, why did Hashem agree to that? Do we give to a child everything the child asks for? Hashem saw already that they're going to sin with the golden calf. And he said, if I don't show myself to them, they'll have an excuse and say, we never saw God. We don't know what God looks like. That's why we sinned. We want to speak to you. Really, you weren't worthy of seeing Hashem. So that Hashem wanted you to not have this excuse to say that Hashem didn't reveal himself. Another reason why Hashem revealed himself to us, besides the fact we shouldn't have an excuse at the golden calf, is that you should have busha and bashfulness from the face of Hashem. You saw him reveal himself in this world. You saw his great fire and his great presence, and the Shekhinah. So if you know that Hashem is here in this world, then how can we sin? That was great embarrassment, as the Rabbi Yochanan said.
Nadav and Avihu gazed at Hashem, and also the leaders as well, and they were later all punished.
Right.
For that. So
But here, I don't think he's referring to necessarily gazing in Hashem in the sense of looking at what you're not supposed to look at or not in the right setting. I think he is referring to what the Jewish people experienced as Hashem revealing himself in this world, and seeing that Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. And then that should create, like Rabbi Yochanan said to his students, that you should have embarrassment from Hashem as just as much you have from a human being. When a person sins, you say the worst thing would be if someone walks in right now. So if a person, at Matan Torah, when Hashem revealed himself to us, he did it in order that we should feel ashamed to sin in front of him. Okay, so then we'll come to the next piece. Al midat rachamim, hevim natan lecha rachamim. So what does that mean? It means that Hashem will give you rachamim, that you will have rachamim on someone else, and then v'richamcha, he will then in turn midah keneged midah have mercy on you as well. So that's where we do see that it's referring to the rachamim of the Jewish people on others. And now we're coming back to the pasuk we started with. which with the problem the Midrash had was the pasuk was with the extra ve'et hachesed. What's this et? Achul rabot gam midat hachesed shel Israel. Shegam zchut ze yishmor hu yitbarach l'keren kayemet la'atid. V'yiten ha'pirot ata. So what we're saying is that the et hachesed is referring to. Just a second. Right, it's referring to the fact that the Jewish people themselves also have the midah of chesed that they inherited from the forefathers, and just like Hashem is gonna invest the forefathers' reward for the world to come, so that it doesn't get used up in this world, the same way Hashem's gonna take the schar that the Jewish people have for the fact that they are chasadim, that they have the midah of kindness, and Hashem is also going to invest that in the world to come. So this is where it's referring to between the lines in this et ve'et chesed alludes to the fact that the Jewish people receive reward because they are kind people. So that's the end of today's Alshech. Bezrat Hashem, a beautiful Shabbat Shalom, Varach, and we're going to continue next week.